Point 6.12. Chitradhatur vichitradin निबभग्न भुजद्रुमान् जलाशयांशी वजलान्नलिनी सुरसेविता चित्रस्वनै पत्ररथैर्विभ्रमद्रभ्रमश्रिया. Chitra dhatu, valuable minerals like gold, silver and copper. Vichitra, full of variegatedness. Adrin, hills and mountains. Ibha bhagna, broken by the giant elephants. Bhuja, branches. Duman, tree. Jalashayan, Shiva, health giving. Jalan, reservoirs of waters. Nalinaha, lotus flowers. Sura Sevita, aspired to by denizens of heaven. Chitra Swanahi, pleasing to the heart. Par, Pararathai, by the birds. Patrarathai, Patrarathai means by the birds. Patra means wings and Ratha means chariot. Those who have the chariots of their wings, that is called bird. What a nice word used for birds. Patrarathai, Vibramata, bewildering. Bhamara Shriya, decorated by drones. Decorated by drones. I passed hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, copper, through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. So Narad Muni is describing how he actually traveled. After his mother left, you know that his mother, she was bitten by a snake. And when she was bitten by a snake, um, he went in the northern direction. And northern direction is the direction is called Uttar in Sanskrit. Uttar means north. And if you want Uttar answer to your questions, you have to go in the northern direction. Generally, Himalayas. That is what they say. So that is Narad Muni is describing this. In a journey through nature's grand display, I traversed hills and mountains along the way. Reservoirs of minerals adorn the land with gold, silver, copper, a treasure so grand. Through landscape I wandered, a picturesque sight with water reservoirs simmering in light. Lotus flowers blossomed, a vision divine, heavenly abodes in earthly design. Bewildered bees danced their melody in flight, serenading the scene with sheer delight. Singing birds joined in, their melody is sweet, creating a symphony, a harmonious feat. The beauty unfolded, nature's masterpiece, a tapestry woven, a moment of peace. Through hills and mountains, a journey untold, where wonders of earth their stories unfold. In this wondrous realm, I found solace and grace, an embrace of nature's sublime embrace. With every step, a new treasure to find, a testament to the splendor of humankind. So let us cherish these reservoirs rare and protect the beauty of beyond compare. For hills and mountains, a heaven we share, a reminder of nature's love and care. So here you see that he's traveling. Nalavenu Sharas Tanbakushaki एक एवातियातोऽहं द्राक्षं विपिनं महत् घोरं प्रतिभयाकारं व्यालोलुकशिवाजिरम् नलवेणुशरस्तन्ब मूषकीचकगौहरम् एक एवातियातोऽहम् अद्राक्षं विपिनं महत् प्रतिभयाकारं व्यालोलुकशिवाजिरम्. Nala, pipes, Venu, bamboo, Sharaha, pens, Tanba, full of, Usha, sharp grass, Kichaka, weeds, Kauvaram, caves, Ekaha alone, Eva only, Atiyataha, difficult to go through, Aham, I, Adraksham visited, Vipinam, deep forest, Mahat, green, Ghoram, fearful, Pratibhaya Akaram, dangerously, Vyala, snakes, Uluka, owls, Shiva, jackals, Ajiram, playgrounds. I then passed along through many forests and rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, dangerously fearful forests, which were the playards of snakes, owls, and jackals. So you'll see that here, how the Narad Muni is traveling. How is traveling actually? Passing through forests, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, caves, like that. Through forest I trade alone on my way. Amid rushes, bamboo, reeds in array, sharp grass and weeds, challenging to traverse, caves concealed, and arduous path to immerse. I ventured into depths, darkness profound, forests feared where dangers whispers resound, playgrounds of snakes, owls and jackals bold, a realm untamed where untold stories unfold. So it is a duty of a mendicant, Parivrajak Acharya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone to all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants of the message of God. A sannyasi is duty bound to take all these risks without fear. And the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals. In this age of Kali, sannyas is forbidden for ordinary men. One who changes his dress to make propaganda is a different man from the original ideal sannyasi. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only a formality. Lord Chaitanya did not accept the name of a sannyasi, and in this age of Kali, the so-called sannyasi should not change the former names following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, devotional service of hearing or repeating the holy glories of the Lord is strongly recommended. And one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life did not imitate the Parivrajak Acharya like Narad or Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole time and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas like the Sikh Goswami. So, sannyasi means he should sit under the tree and he should chant the holy names. Sandhya vandanam bhadramastu bhavate भो स्नान तुभ्यं नमो ओ देवा पितरश्च तर्पणविधौ नाहं क्षमा क्षम्यताम् यत्र क्वापि निषद्ययादो कुलोत्तंसस्य कंसद्विषा स्मारं स्मारम् अगं हरामि कदलं मन्ये किमन्येन मे. So here, Sandhya Vandanam, oh my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. Oh, bathing, I offer my obeisances to you. Oh, demigods, oh, forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yaru dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. The sannyasi doesn't offer prayers to his forefathers, and he simply sits in one place and he chants the Hare Krishna mantras and reads Srimad Bhagavatam, then he doesn't have to engage in any other activity. Study Srimad Bhagavatam, render service to his own spiritual master. So, generally speaking, we do Sandhya, but that is Bhakti Sandhya, not the Karma Kanda Sandhya. परिश्रान्तेन्द्रियात्माहं त्रुट्परितो बुभुक्षिता स्नात्वा पीत्वा हृदे नद्या उपस्पृष्टो गतश्रमा परिश्रान्त इन्द्रियात्मा अहं त्रुट्परिता बुभुक्षिता स्नात्वा पीत्वा हृदे नद्या उपस्पृष्टा गतश्रमा Parishranta, being tired, Indriya, bodily, Atma, mentally, Aham, I, Trut Paritaha, being thirsty, Bubukshitaha, and hungry, Snatva, taking a bath, Pitva, and drinking water also, Rade, in the lake, Nadya, of a river, Upasprushtaha, being in contact with, Gata, got relief from, Shramaha, tiredness. Thus traversing, I felt tired, both bodily and mentally, and I was both thirsty and hungry. So I took a bath in the river lake and also drank water. By contacting water, I got relief from my exhaustion. A traveling mendicant can meet the need of body, namely thirst and hunger, by the gifts of nature without being a beggar at the doors of the householder. The mendicant, therefore, does not go to the house of a householder to beg, but to enlighten him spiritually. So, Bhagavatam philosophy is like that. Bhagavatam says that live simply, depend on the nature, depend on Bhagavan's nature. Means Bhagavan only. Nature and Bhagavan are non-different. And simply chant Hare Krishna. Don't trouble anyone. Don't worry for rich men to give any charity or anything. There are fruit-bearing trees, and there are also some rivers which give. Like Narmada River is still very nice water. Some rivers are very, very clean and Mandakini, especially Mandakini river is flowing in Chitrakoot. When Lord Ramchandra went to Chitrakoot, he told Sita that there is no difference between Chitrakoot and Ayodhya. And there is no difference between the residents of Chitrakoot. All the snakes, all the vultures, all the jackals, all the wolves, all the animals, deer here are the residents of Ayodhya. You should treat residents of Ayodhya and a resident of Chitrakoot to be on par. They are equal. So this is the nature. We don't depend on in the path of a wandering mendicant's quest. Body's needs are made by nature's bequest. Thirst and hunger quenched by nature's grace. Without being a beggar, a life's noble embrace. No doors of householders a mendicant shall knock, not seeking alms, but spiritual wisdom to unlock. Enlightenment's purpose to the homes they trade, to uplift souls, hearts, and minds to be fed. To lands they roam, a beacon of light, guiding seekers, dispelling ignorance night. With wisdom's flame, they ignite souls' fire, unveiling truths, lifting spirits higher. For a mendicant's journey, it's not material wealth, but spiritual treasures, a boundless well of health. From within, their sustenance shall flow, nourishing hearts, your knowledge to bestow. So let us honor these wandering souls whose purpose transcends worldly roles. In their quest for truth, they humbly embark, bring light and wisdom to every heart's spark. You'll see here that why they are traveling, enlighten others of Bhakti, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavat, message of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavat, like Sripad Gandhi Maharaj, Guru Dev, Nirud Prabhu, they are doing the same thing. तस्मिन् निर्मनुजयरण्ये पिप्पलोपस्थाश्रिता आत्मनात्मात्मस्थं यथा श्रुतम् अचिन्तयम् तस्मिन् वीरमनुजे अरण्ये पिप्पलोपस्थाश्रिता आत्मनात्मानम् आत्मस्थं यथा श्रुतम् अचिन्त्यम् तस्मिन् in that nirmanuje without human habitation aranye in the forest pippala banyan tree upasthe sitting under it ashrita taking shelter atmana by intelligence atmanam the super soul atmastham situated within myself yatha shrutam as I heard it from the liberated souls achimtyam thought over. After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the super soul situated within using my intelligence as I had learned from liberated souls. One should not meditate according to one's personal dreams. One should know perfectly well from the authoritative sources of scriptures through the transparent medium of a bona fide spiritual master and by proper use of one's trained intelligence for meditating upon the super soul dwelling within every living being. This consciousness is firmly developed by a devotee who has rendered loving service to the Lord by carrying out the orders of the spiritual master. Narad contacted bona fide spiritual masters, served them sincerely, and got enlightenment rightly. Thus, he began to meditate. ध्यायतश्चरणाम्भोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा औत्कण्ठा औत्कण्ठा शुक्लाक्षस्य हृद्यासिन्मे शनैर्हरि आयतश्चरणाम्भोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा औत्कण्ठा शुक्लाक्षस्य Ullasinme Shanair Hari Dhyayata, thus meditating upon Charanam Bojam, the lotus feet of the localized personality of Godhead, Avanirjita, mind transformed in transcendental love for the Lord, Chetasa, all mental activities, thinking, feeling, and willing, Utkantha, eagerness, Ashrukala, Ashrukala, tears rolling down. Akshasya of the eyes. Rudhi, within my heart. Asita appeared, may, my, Shanahi, without delay. Harihi, the personality of Godhead. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes, and without delay, the personality of Godhead Krishna appeared on the lotus of my heart. You see that he began to meditate on Krishna, and because he was pure-hearted and he was told by his guru, the four Kumaras, oh, Bhagavan appeared right before him. For pure souls, Bhagavan appears very quickly. Narad Muni is a pure soul. Narad Muni is explaining all this. You see that in the realm of meditation, my heart did soar upon the lotus feet. Divine, pure, I adore. Transcendental love, transform my mind state. Years of devotion like pearls did gently cascade. In an instant, the Lord of all, he appeared, Sri Krishna. Divine essence, my soul revered. On the lotus of my heart, his presence divine, a sacred union, a moment truly sublime. His form resplendent with radiant grace, a vision of beauty my soul did embrace. In the depths of meditation, our souls entwined, a glimpse of eternity in oneness defined. So this is not impersonal oneness, but rather he is embracing the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna by his mind. The word bhava is significant here. The bhava stage is attained after one has transcendental affection for the Lord. The first initial stage is called Shraddha, or a liking for the Supreme Lord. And in order to increase that liking, one has to associate with pure devotees of the Lord. The third stage is to practice the prescribed regulations, rules and regulations of devotional service. This will dissipate all sorts of misgivings and remove all personal deficiencies that hamper progress in devotional service. When all misgivings and personal deficiencies are removed, there is a standard faith in transcendental matter, and the taste for it increases in greater proportion. This stage leads to attraction, and after this, there is bhava, or the prior stage of unalloyed love for God. All the above different stages are but different stages of development of transcendental love. Being so surcharged with transcendental love, there comes a strong feeling of separation which leads to eight different kinds of ecstasy. Tears from the eyes of a devotee is an automatic reaction, and because Narad Muni in his previous work attained that stage very quickly after his departure from home, it was quite possible for him to perceive the actual presence of the Lord, which he tangibly experienced by his developed senses without material teaching. प्रेमाति भर निर्भिन्न पुलकांगवति निवृता आनंद संप्लवे लीनो पश्चादुभयं मुने. Prema, love, ativara, excessive, nirvinna, especially distinguished, pulaka, feelings of happiness, angaha, different bodily parts, ati nirvritaha, being fully overwhelmed, ananda, ecstasy, samplave, in the ocean of, linaha, absorbed, in, na, not, apashyam, could see, ubhayam, both, mune, O Vyasdev. O Vyasdev, at that time, being exceedingly overpowered by the feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. Spiritual feelings of happiness and intense ecstasies have no mundane comparison. Therefore, it is very difficult to give expression to such feelings. We can just have a glimpse of such ecstasy in the words of Sri Narad Muni. Each and every part of the body or senses has its particular function. After seeing the Lord, all the senses become fully awakened to render service unto the Lord. Because in the liberated state, the senses are fully efficient in serving the Lord. As such, in that transcendental ecstasy, it so happened that the senses become separately enlivened to serve the Lord. This being so, Narad Muni lost himself in seeing both himself and the Lord simultaneously. रूपं भगवतो यत्तन् मनाकान्तं सुचापहम् अपश्यन् सहसोत्पत्ते वैप्लव्यात् दुर्मना इव. Rupam, form, Bhagavata of the personality of Godhead, Yat as it is, Tat that, Manaha of the mind, Antam as it desires, Shucha Apaham, vanishing all disparity, Apashyan without seeing, Sahasa, all of a sudden, Uttaste got up, Vaiklavyat being perturbed, Gurmanaha having lost the desirable, Eva as it were. The transcendental form of the Lord as it is satisfies the mind's desire and at once erases all mental incongruities. Upon losing that form, I suddenly got being perturbed as is usual when one loses that which is desirable. That, that the Lord is not formless is experienced by Narad Muni, but his form is completely different from all forms of material experience. For the whole duration of our life, we go see different forms in the material world, but none of them just have to satisfy the mind, nor can any one of them vanish all perturbations of the mind. These are the special features of the transcendental form of the Lord. And one who has once seen that form is not satisfied with anything else. No form in the material world can any longer satisfy the seer. That the Lord is formless or impersonal means that he has nothing like a material form and is not like any material personality. As spiritual beings having eternal relations with that transcendental form of the Lord, we are life after life searching after that form of the Lord, and we are not satisfied by any other form of material appeasement. Narad Muni got a glimpse of this, but having not seen it again, he became perturbed and stood up all of a sudden to search it out. What we desire life after life was obtained by Narad Muni, and losing sight of him again was certainly a great shock for him. दिदृक्षुस्तदहं भूया प्रणिधाय मनोरुधि वीक्षमाणोऽपि नापश्यम् अवितृप्तकिवातुरा. Didrukshu, desiring to see that aham, I, bhuya again, pranidhaya, having concentrated the mind, mana, mind, rudhi, upon the heart, vikshamana, waiting to see, api, in spite of, no, never, apashyan, saw him, avitrupta, without being satisfied, you were like Turaha, aggrieved. I desired to see again the transcendental form of the Lord, but despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I could not see him any more, and thus dissatisfied, I was very much aggrieved. There is no mechanical process to see the form of the Lord. It completely depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. We cannot demand the Lord to be present before our vision, just as we cannot demand the sun to rise whenever we like. The sun rises out of his own accord, so also the Lord is pleased to be present out of his causeless mercy. One should simply await the opportune moment and go on discharging his prescribed duty in devotional service of the Lord. Narad Muni thought that the Lord could be seen again by the same mechanical process which was successful in the first attempt. But in spite of his utmost endeavor, he could not make the second attempt successful. The Lord is completely independent of all obligations. He can simply be bound up by the tie of another devotion, nor is he visible or perceivable by our material senses. When he pleases, being satisfied with the sincere attempt of devotional service, depending completely on the mercy of the Lord, then he may be seen out of his own accord. Evam yatantam vijane mamaha gocharo giram vandira lakshanaya vacha shucha prasannamiva. Evam yatantam vijane mam aha gocharo giram gambhira lakshanaya vacha shucha prasamayan iva. Evam thus, Yadantam, one who is engaged in attempting vijani in that lonely place, Mam, unto me, Aha said, Agochara, beyond the range of physical sound, Giram, utterance, Gambhira, grave, Shlakshanaya, pleasing to hear, Vacha, words, Shucha, grief, Prashamayan, mitigating evil like. Seeing my attempt in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words just to mitigate my grief. In the Vedas, it is said that the God is beyond the approach of mundane words and intelligence, and yet, by his causeless mercy, one can have suitable senses to hear him or to speak to him. This is the Lord's inconceivable energy. One upon whom his mercy is bestowed can hear it. The Lord was much pleased with Narad Muni, and therefore the necessary strength was invested in him so that he could hear the Lord. It is not, however, possible for others to perceive directly the touch of the Lord during the probationary stage of regulatory devotional service. It was a special gift for Narad. When he heard the pleasing words of the Lord, the feelings of separation were to some extent mitigated. A devotee in love of God feels always the pangs of separation and is therefore always enwrapped in transcendental ecstasy. Antasmin tasmin janmani bhavan ma mam drashtum iharhati avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam. Anta, O Narad, antasmin janmani bhavan mamam drashtum iharhasti avi avipakva kashayanam avipakva kashayanam durgasho aham kuyoginam. Anta, O Narad, asmin, this Janmani, duration of life, Bhavan, yourself, ma, not, ma, me, drashtum, to see, iha, here, arhati, deserve, avipakva, immature, kashayanam, material dirt, durdarshaha, difficult to be seen, aham, I, kuyoginam, incompetent in service. O Narad, the Lord spoke, I regret that during this lifetime you will not be able to see me anymore. Those who are incomplete in service, and who are not completely free from all material taints can hardly see me. The personality of Godhead is described in the Bhagavad Gita as the most pure, supreme, and the absolute truth. There is no trace of a tinge of materiality in his person, and thus one who has the slightest tinge of material affection cannot approach him. The beginning of devotional service starts from the point when one is freed from at least two forms of material modes, namely the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. The result is exhibited by the signs of being freed from kama, lust, and labha, covetousness. That is to say, one must be freed from the desires for desires for sense satisfaction and avarice for sense gratification. The balanced mode of nature is goodness. And to be completely free from all material tinges is to become free from the modes of goodness. Also, to search the audience of God in a lonely forest is considered to be the mode of goodness. One can go out into the forest to attain spiritual perfection, but that does not mean that one can see the Lord personally there. One must be completely freed from all material attachments and be situated on the plane of transcendence, which alone will help the devotee get in personal touch with the personality of Godhead. The best method is that one should live at a place where the transcendental form of the Lord is worshipped. The temple of the Lord is a transcendental place, whereas the forest is a materially good habitation. A neophyte devotee is always recommended to worship the deity of the Lord, Archana, rather than go into forest to search out the Lord. Devotional service begins from the process of Archana, which is better than going out in the forest. In his present life, which is completely freed from all material hankerings, the Narad Muni does not go into the forest, although he can turn every place into Vaikuntha by his presence only. He travels from one planet to another to convert men, gods, kinnaras, gandharvas, rishis, munis, and all others to become devotees of the Lord. By his activities, he has engaged many devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, and many others in the transcendental service of the Lord. A pure devotee of the Lord, therefore, follows in the footsteps of the great devotees like Narad and Prahlad and engage his whole time in glorifying the Lord by the process of kirtan. The preaching process is transcendental to all material qualities. सकृद्यद्दर्शितं रूपम् एतत् कामाय ते अनघ मत्कामाशनकैः साधु सर्वान् च तिरुच्छयान् सकृत once only yet that darshitam shown rupam form etat this is kamaya for hankerings te your anagha o virtuous one mat mine kamaha desire shanakai by increasing sadhu devotee Sarvan, all, Munchati gives away, Rushayan, material desires. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me. Because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires. A living being cannot be vacant of desires. He is not a dead stone. He must be working, thinking, feeling, and willing. But when he thinks, feels, and wills materially, he becomes entangled. And conversely, when he thinks, feels, and wills for the service of the Lord, he becomes gradually free from all entanglement. The more a person is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, the more he acquires a hankering for it. That is the transcendental nature of godly service. Material service has satiation, whereas spiritual service of the Lord has neither satiation nor end. One can go on increasing his hankerings for the loving transcendental service of the Lord, and yet he will not find satiation or end. By intense service of the Lord, one can experience the presence of the Lord transcendentally. Therefore, seeing the Lord means being engaged in His service because His service and His person are identical. The sincere devotee should go on with sincere service of the Lord. The Lord will give proper direction as to how and where it has to be done. There was no material desire in Narad, and yet just to increase his intense desire for the Lord, he was so advised. तत्सेवया दीर्घयापि जाता मयि दृढामति हित्वा वद्यमिमं लोकं गन्तामसि Satsevaya, by service of the absolute truth. Adirghaya, for some days. Api, even Jata, having attained, Mai, unto me. Druda, form, Mati, intelligence. Hitva, having given up. Avadyam, deplorable. Imam, this. Lokam, material world. Danta, going to. Mad, Janatam, my associates. Asi, become. By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material world. Serving the absolute truth means rendering service unto the absolute personality of Godhead under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, who is a transparent via medium between the Lord and the neophyte devotee. The neophyte devotee has no ability to approach the absolute personality of Godhead by the strength of his present imperfect material senses, and therefore, under the direction of the spiritual master, he is trained in transcendental service of the Lord. And by such training, even for some days, the neophyte devotee gets intelligence in such transcendental service, which leads him ultimately to get free from perpetual inhabitation in the material world, to be promoted to the transcendental world, to become one of the liberated associates of the Lord in the kingdom of God. We'll stop here. Next, tomorrow we'll have the verse number 24. Verse number 24. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams.
Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Vilalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktāya Tadbhaktāya Namo Namah Vancha Kalpataruvesha Kripa Sindhya Pradhanam